Welcome, colleagues, faculty and staff. Marla, welcome everyone. This is kind of a hot mic. So watch what I say. You're a fine-looking group. Thank you for coming this afternoon. Welcome. It's always wonderful to reconnect, to see people I haven't seen since the spring. I've seen many of you over the summer. We've communicated by email in many cases. I've tried to leave the majority of department chairs alone, and I've certainly tried to leave faculty alone when possible. So hopefully you've had a summer that has been free from dean pestering. And that is one of my goals as an administrator, is to be as minimally intrusive as possible. So thank you for coming today. I don't mean to intrude on your time, but we do have some interesting developments, things to talk about, things to catch up on, and a bit of looking forward to do. So first thing to say is that this was not the venue of our first choice. It's rather formal from my perspective. The stage and the proscenium wall don't necessarily fit my personality especially well, but we'll make do. I trust that your seats are comfortable. Yep. We couldn't bring food in. That's a bit of a downer. But the thing about this particular venue is it was large enough to accommodate a group as large as our college is. And so we looked at the sub, and this was the only one that they had available. So we were relegated to the spec, and I thought immediately this is not good because this will invite certain comparisons. First and foremost to the President's address in the Morrison Center this morning, and I will tell you now, and you won't be surprised, the production quality here will not be as high because I made the Prezi, and there's nothing else. And I won't have as exciting news, but we will operate a little closer to the ground and talk a little bit about what's happening in departments and what I hope you will be talking about and thinking about this year. It might also invite certain sort of comparisons to, I was thinking I should wear, old jeans and a mock turtleneck. It was like rolling out some new product, but I don't have a product to sell. So, thank you for coming. We'll begin as we always do, traditionally, by introducing new faculty and welcoming new colleagues to the college. And so, without further ado, I will turn one of the two microphones in the aisles over to Chair of Chemistry, Brad Bammel. There's Brad.
Hello. Let me first say, public speaking is one of my favorite things, so this will be short. The faculty that I'm introducing actually deserve nice long introductions. Sorry. Let me shift hands there. Let me start with Terry Jilton. Just for a moment so they can get a look at you there. Thank you. I want to welcome you to the chemistry department at Boise State University. Terry comes to us from Micron Technology, Micron Imaging, Apta Imaging, a few semiconductor companies in the area. He has an impressive resume. He started in 1990 as a development engineer at Micron and has worked his way up to being VP at some of those corporations and started his own company. So his perspective, experience, and expertise will be a very welcome addition to the chemistry department. Next is Matt King here today. Well, we're glad Matt King is joining us anyway. He will be an associate research faculty, excuse me, I just gave him a promotion, didn't I? An assistant research faculty member with us in analytical services. And Mike Callahan, I did not see today either. I know he's been on campus, but he's officially, I guess, still working for little old NASA, where we hired him out of. And he's going to do some analytical chemistry research with us, and we're very excited to have him on board too. He's going to do a little cosmochemistry research, which I think sounds very exciting, and I'm sure will also excite our students.
We got some meteorites in the deal, right?
We're going to get some meteorites. We're still getting papers signed.
As soon as the contract and the insurance papers are signed, we will get some meteorites.
That's right.
So, very cool. Thank you, Brad. Welcome. English. Roger Munger is interim chair of English. Roger.
Thank you. We have several people to introduce, new hires. Elizabeth Barnes, she's a lecturer, a writer, community organizer, parent, and traveler. She's engaged with better teaching practices for multilingual audiences and enjoys being the faculty advisor for the Boise State's Free Write Club. She also loves cooking as part of the English department's community committee. Elizabeth, are you here? There she is. All right. Next is Margaret Bundy. She's getting her syllabus ready. Earned her BA in English from University of Connecticut and her MA in English from Arizona State University, and she's been working for us in the department since 2013. Jessica Ewing. All right, she's a new lecturer. She teaches in our first year writing courses, and in this current year, she's going to serve as our internship supervisor and associate editor of Melville Marginalia Online. Carly Finseth. New assistant professor, received a PhD in technical communication rhetoric from Texas Tech and an MA in professional communication from Clemson University. Her areas of research include intersections of technical communication, gaming studies, instructional design, and usability. Lana Kukta, also a lecturer, undergraduate degree in English with a writing emphasis and a master's with a focus on rhetoric and composition from Boise State, and she's been teaching with us since 2003. Next up is Jen Mallett, also a new assistant professor. She earned her PhD in English from the University of Arkansas, specializing in rhetoric and composition, and her current research examines the connections between gender, professional identity, writing practices in engineering settings, and methods to enhance writing and instruction in the STEM courses. And finally, John Oddie, also a lecturer, earned his BA in English from UC Santa Barbara and an MFA in creative writing from Boise State, and he's worked for us as an adjunct teaching in our first year writing and creative writing courses, and he's also actively involved in workshops and camps at the cabin. Thank you.
Thanks, Roger. Welcome, English colleagues. Next, Geosciences, Jim McNamara.
Hello, the Department of Geosciences welcomes one new assistant professor to the department, Dr. Dylan Mikesel. Dylan earned his PhD in 2011 in geophysics from perhaps the most prestigious geophysics program in the nation here at Boise State University. And after his time here, he went on and completed postdoctoral appointments at the University of Nice, France, and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He returns to us with expertise in seismic imaging methods, which he uses to explore Earth's crust and near-surface structure, and in seismic monitoring, which he uses to look for changes in Earth's structure over time. He was a star student, and he's shining even brighter now.
Thank you, Jim. Welcome, Dylan. History, Jill Gill, Chair.
Karen Pinto joins the History Department as our new expert in the Middle East. She did graduate work at Columbia University, did a teaching stint at Gettysburg College, and has one of the most, I think, unique research fields in our department. She interprets medieval Islamic maps. And these are maps that don't even look like maps to the untrained eye. They look like modern art. She has a book coming out in a couple months. She had an NEH last year working on her second book, so she's got the whole research thing really rocking, and we are thrilled to have her.
Thanks, Jill. Math, Leming Chu.
It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Scott Andrews. Scott Andrews is joining us as a lecturer in mathematics department. Scott received his undergraduate degree from Dartmouth College and a PhD degree from the University of Colorado, Boulder. Prior to coming to Boise State, Dr. Andrews was a lecturer at Dartmouth College, where he received his undergraduate degree. He also spent time teaching middle school in Fort Collins, Colorado, before attending graduate school. Welcome, Scott.
Thanks, Lei Ming. Welcome, Scott. Department of Psychology, Roberto Raffinetti.
Hello, everyone. Dean Rourke asked us to be short on this, so I brought a few notes. No, I'm not. Okay. We have two new faculty members. One is Dr. April Mazurek, who will be an assistant professor. She earned her PhD in human development and also an MS in child development at the University of California, Davis. Very interesting. Should have waited for this one. She was an undergraduate, got her BS in psychology here at Boise State.
All right.
Before coming back to BSU, she did a postdoc at UC Davis. And her research focuses on close relationships, including parent-child relationships and romantic relationships. You will probably be happy to know that her research findings indicate that mutually satisfying relationships contribute to overall health and well-being across the lifespan. So if you have a good relationship, you have good health. All right. She's excited about teaching and doing research at the place where she initially fell in love with psychology. Dr. Brian Stone comes as a lecturer. His undergraduate training was in both psychology and philosophy at Washington State University. His PhD in psychology from the University of Georgia. He has teaching experience at both a large research university and a selective liberal arts college, and is excited to teach at Boise State. His research has investigated how the senses work together to track and represent bodies, actions, and the use of tools in both humans and non-human primates. He enjoys biking the Green Belt, game nights with friends, reading almost anything, and his expression, just converting coffee into ideas.
And we have one more faculty introduction from Susan Chadle, Center for Teaching and Learning. Not on the screen, but we'll make plenty of room for Susan.
You can come out too. So I am very pleased to welcome a new colleague to the Center for Teaching and Learning. This is Dr. Tasha Souza. She also has a faculty appointment in the Department of Communication. She earned her PhD some time ago from the University of Washington, but has been a faculty member and done faculty development for several decades now at Humboldt State University. So very happy to welcome her to the CTL.
Welcome, new faces and returning as well. So, wake up my slide here. I thought it would be useful to kind of go through the college staff for those who are new to the college, and also to introduce some new faces, because we do have some new faces in the office. And two of those new faces are Martha Placencia and Pam Robbins, who work in the front office. They are AA2s. They are fantastic. They work together as a team. They're the frontline folks that you're most likely to encounter if you come up to our office on the 6th floor of education. We're so pleased to have Martha and Pam in the office. Stephanie Krogel is my assistant, and she does the lion's share of HR processing in our office. And many of you know Stephanie quite well. She can schedule my calendar. She can help you with general questions, and she's fantastic. Evelyn Redshaw is our senior business manager. Many of you know Evelyn in working with her on grants. She also is a grant accountant, an expert one at that. Robert Allen is helping her in our office. He's a new face to the office. He is our grant accountant, and I think that things have been going very well there. Evelyn is very happy to have his help, and I think the rest of us will be as well. Daryl Jones runs the master's degree in interdisciplinary studies out of our office. He's in on Mondays if you have students in your programs who are ready to graduate and are looking for a tailor-made program that can knit together various aspects of programs, master's programs that we have on campus. this is a program for them, you should talk to Daryl and make a reference there for the student. Jim Ogle is the development officer for the college. He's out of town right now on vacation, and a well-deserved one at that. He has a lot of responsibility in his portfolio now. Many of you know Leslie Durham and C.J. Northrup very well, two very capable associate deans. They're a very important part of my team. They are confidants and advisors to me, and traditionally they have dealt with the arts and humanities side of the college and the math and science side of the college, and of course we need to think about how they will do their work with the expanded college as it is, so stay tuned for news on that. Martha Mendoza has been in our office for a while now, but we've changed her role, recognizing that there's a real need for recruitment of students and more robust communication with students, and really just more general maintaining student relationships and communication over the lifespan of a student, from recruitment to onboarding, through their time at Boise State and into their alumni years as well. And we know that Martha will do a fantastic job at that, so we're very happy to have that new capacity. Most of you, if not nearly all of you who've been here, know Cindy Anson. She's worked in the provost's office for quite some time. She's an expert on organizational design, and I thought we could really use some help in organizational design right now. So I've got Cindy working 3/4 time in our office, and she's helping us redesign some processes so that they're more user-friendly, they're smoother, more transparent, work better for students, faculty, and department chairs. She's helping us design some structures and some programs to provide better support to faculty and department chairs and a little bit of leadership development. I think that's for me. Randy Nuxall has provided invaluable service to many of you in this room, whether it's a federally funded scientific research project or whether it's repairing piano benches. He's sort of a jack of all trades, fantastic skills in the shop, and this year he has hired a student helper, Travis Henman. Is Travis here today? I didn't tell him he had to come, but very, very capable student. He's brought some new expertise into the shop that I think many people are finding to be quite valuable. And the position that was occupied by Orrin Bigelow remains in play, and so I'm charging CJ this fall, to head up the search to fill that vacancy, because I know that's a very important position to so many of you. Dave Monroe and Diane Dragone, I imagine pretty much everybody's at least received an email from these two, if you haven't had them in your office, getting you set up on a printer, or setting up a new computer, or helping you map your drives onto the new system that we have. And I'm ever grateful for their help. They will come almost anytime I call and sort out whatever issues I have. So terrific resource in the university for IT. Their skills complement what OIT provides very nicely, so they will help you. We're moving, as a college, into a centralized advising model, and SSPA had that model in place for quite some time, and with the dissolution of SSPA, we were very happy to take some of the expertise that was supporting the students in SSPA and to expand it and to get that in place for all students in arts and sciences. So our plan is to provide the first 2 years of advising, ramping that up, of course, for all students in College of Arts and Sciences. John McGuire runs the shop. It's in Riverfront Hall 117, and you should drop in and say hi. He has a staff that will be growing. Right now it's fairly small. I'll introduce the professional advisors in a second here, but we'll be bringing new advisors on as we can so that we are able to cover all of the disciplines very well and have the necessary expertise. Courtney Bowl is the new administrative assistant in that office. Their acronym, by the way, is CASS. It's the Center for Advising and Student Success, and she happens to be an alum. She took her baccalaureate degree from theater arts here. I don't remember exactly when, but went on to get her MFA in acting at Illinois, I think. Don't recall for sure, but great to have Courtney back. John Maloney and Mandy Hadjic are the professional advisors in there, and you should stop in and say hi. These two know the catalog and know programs and know the finer details about registration and making progress to degree that I don't have the foggiest idea about. I do look at the catalog quite frequently, but they've internalized it, and they are experts in all of our programs. And so they're very good at generalist advising, but they can also provide very specialized advising for those programs where specialized advising is required. So very happy to have them associated with the college. That unit is organizationally part of AAE, Advising and Academic Enhancement, but it is aligned with the college, and we will work as hand in glove. So that's the college staff, and there are a lot of folks there. I know it's a lot to keep straight, so we're going to work on a cheat sheet that we will put up on the website. So when you have a need and you think, I think I need to route this paperwork to the dean's office, I wonder who I should send it to, you'll be able to go to the website and see precisely who you need to talk to or who you need to send it to. So stay tuned for that. I would like to make one more introduction, actually to turn the stage over to a colleague. Gordon Jones was introduced this morning at the President's Address, the inaugural Dean of the College of Innovation and Design. And you should have received just a couple of days ago a document that sort of explains the current state of play for the COID. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. Gordon, we've got a handheld here for you, I believe. Stage is yours.
Thanks, Tony.
Welcome, by the way.
Thank you. For the record, that's the first applause I've received from any faculty group I've been speaking to. So thank you. I owe you all something. I don't know, happy hour on the College of Innovation and Design. Oops.
This is being taped, Gordon.
That's right. I didn't tell you there's a limit on tickets, though.
Yeah.
It's only 10. Anyway, I want to thank you for making time, Tony, and thank you all for willing to learn a little bit more. I'm going to assume that in this audience there is widespread awareness that there is a College of Innovation and Design, and there's widespread lack of awareness of what the College of Innovation and Design is focused on or will be doing. And I want to use this brief time to fill in some cases cover, augment the one-page document that I'm going to guess all of you have, but I'm going to presume very few have had the opportunity to cover. But I want to make sure that you have a sense for what is it that the starting off point and the starting off trajectory that this college has. What does that look like at from another rubric, a layer down? What is the scope of the activity that we foresee in this first phase of the college? And most importantly, where are the pathways for participation for those of you that might find an interest in what you're hearing as faculty? I will give a little short paid political announcement to where some of your students may find some immediate doorways as well. I think there's a undergirding rubric around the creation of this college. I won't get into all the details, but clearly what got me excited about being here, and I know we're all speak to here, is this idea of a university that's palpably on the move. A young university, not bound by the 379 years of history from Harvard, where I was coming from, but actually young enough to be willing to lean on learnings, or old enough to be leaning on learnings, but young enough to be willing to experiment. I know that happens within the existing colleges that make up Boise State University today and of the past years. I think at the same time there's a viewpoint that says that the structure or culture of a university at times may actually be preventing opportunities for areas of either, again, structurally or cultural impediments that may be preventing you as faculty from reaching across various disciplinary boundaries, or maybe disincentives. There may be ways in which we as a university find difficult trying to launch an experiment or 2 or 5 or 10 because of how we've organized ourselves. There may be external things happening around higher ed, which our structure as colleges of arts and sciences, of health sciences, education, engineering, business, may in their current structure not be well positioned to try to experiment against. And so what is it that this college could do? So to be clear, we're a college that's not focused on the academic study of innovation and design as much as we're focused on innovating and designing pathways of learning that can yield, could yield skills, learning insights that could be relevant to the world and the workplace of tomorrow. I think there's 3 areas that you're going to see us focus on that will embody this overarching statement. One is, where can we be participating and innovating inside this university? Where is it that across disciplinary boundaries, your own interests or interests that you may find in discovering peers across this university, at the intersection of those interests, there may be courses, minors, certificates, majors. Most evident example referenced this morning is this gaming, interactive media, mobile technology major. It's a confluence of different disciplines from psychology, computer science, the narrative capabilities of the arts, perhaps other areas have come around this, that represent structurally a college where we're able to more eagerly say, let's step into that experiment and see where the demand is. It's also a recognition of the fact that the areas of virtual reality, gaming, these are areas that are going to have tremendous influence stepping into the world of tomorrow. Walter Isaacson, among others, talks about this next wave of generation being one that's a bridge generation, not just the pure technical knowledge or not just pure humanities knowledge, but the person who can marry the two and apply them across society. I like to say, why do I pace 100 extra steps in my bedroom at night wearing this Fitbit? It's because I am more motivated by games than I am by routine. And I think if you extrapolate in a more serious light, the opportunities that are presented with, for example, that kind of a major, and where virtual reality and gaming will play, is an area of an interesting bet that I'm bullish on taking. I think the more interesting thing, as Will Hughes and I, Will Hughes, the Associate Dean here, coming from the College of Engineering, we think while GIM is a wonderful starting point, the real answer lies with us as a community and as faculty collectively coming together around what are the future intersections and where can these other opportunities lie. What can we do as a college to facilitate? For those of you that are interested, I realize there's a tremendous amount that is asked, and therefore we invite your participation. But where can there be multiple doorways that look like as small as maybe 2 hours of your time? The potential payoff is you may find that it's less taxing than you think because you may be meeting colleagues from across the university in whom you may expand your working group or knowledge of those that you may be able to collaborate with, all the way up through things like the GIM or equivalent of tomorrow that could receive financial sponsorship and the incubation of a college like the College of Innovation and Design. By the way, one other point, as we try to grow this, it's about helping each college. My view is that as these new majors and minor certificates opportunities grow and prove out, our goal is that they would return to some other college in the university. It's not about building a fiefdom here. It's about trying to play a role in the efforts that are happening inside each college with a unique rubric that we're bringing of a cross-university focus. I know Will Hughes and I have talked about, and Will's designed this concept sometime this fall of inviting folks to start in and join us on this idea of what might a Boise State in 2020 look like. What could a few hours collectively, for those of you that are interested, coming to join together and imagining what could this university of tomorrow look like? I did have to ask Will for clarification. Was 2020 vision or the year? And I assume he means a year because 2020 starts to get, my concern is that gets us more current focused rather than future focused. That was meant to be a joke, so thanks to those of you that laughed. The other areas you'll see us focus on, I think, are also about expanding access to the work that you're doing. There are ways and trends that are going on outside of higher ed that our goal is how do we retain relevance for this university? Where is it that we see things like non-degree skill acquisition? What can we do on that trend so students don't face this kind of discussion at home around vocational appropriateness of a major versus pursuit of a love? And my goal is that's an artificial construct. If we as the College of Innovation and Design might be able to assist in that journey, I want to take away that kind of need for that discussion, or at least the need for that discussion at this point in an individual student's stage of life. Because you know what? We may be able to experiment with that. Let's say you could be that philosophy major, but you may also be able to offer, Stephen, thank you. You may be able to, who knows, maybe you take a 3-month coding boot camp, but we design it so it's concurrent, it's complementary, Rather than today, you'll see individuals forcing a decision. I know with my 4 kids, I have a son who loves theater. I'd hate to be having a discussion where I'm actually trying to direct a love and a passion and a skill set only in pursuit of a vocational area of interest that may be outside my son's love of an area. I think our opportunity to recognize these trends and retain relevance is another area you're going to see us focused on. The third is where can we join our oar in the water with the colleges, like the Colleges of Arts and Sciences, and connecting to the community. I know there's a ton of work that we do, and by definition as a public state university, connecting to our community. But rather, where can we step in and join the experimentation that's going on around this university, uniquely using the structure that we have? As a cross-university kind of mindset, where can we think about opportunities where we may be able to expand access to education, we may be able to redefine what does a student look like at Boise State, and I'm being very teasing, if not provocative, because some of these things are not yet operational or in place. But imagine a world in which we have folks out there, not imagine, this is a world, where there are people who don't have the luxury, life stage, to actually step out of either work or where they live, to step onto a campus, to participate in evening opportunities. What if we were to work with area employers? I'm partnering with Mark Wheeler right now to explore the appetite of Treasure Valley employers to say, what if we actually were to work with these employers to think about, as an employee benefit, the ability for individuals who don't have a bachelor's degree to continue the economic necessity they may have to work, but also pursue a path towards empowerment by pursuing a bachelor's degree. What could that do about opening up access for you as faculty if you were to broaden that and large-scale adoption took place? I think there's opportunities where we may be able to benefit and shine light on the work that you're doing as we pursue things. One example being this Boise State X is sort of the working name concept of it. But I think the point is it's representative of what may be more opportunities. So at the end of the day, there's an opportunity here to invite you to join us in creating opportunities where there may be new pathways of learning that may sit across different disciplines. There may be opportunities in which we're trying to augment the work that you're doing, removing artificial dichotomies, preserving people's ability to pursue their passions, and in other cases, expanding access. Access maybe for students, but also access for faculty. Where are there broader audiences that can benefit from your knowledge, from your insight? And collectively, I hope you find that the creation of this college and the purpose of this college is one where we're trying to be additive and complementary, no other reason. And with that, I would give you a small, brief, paid political announcement, which is for your students. We're very eager to make sure that we present opportunities that will cross all disciplines. One opportunity is in September. There is a Scramble Weekend, we call it. It's a broad invitation to students. It includes faculty and staff, those that may have ideas they want to pursue, that can spend a weekend in a community of Boise State, a Bronco community, in 48 hours pursuing skills and expertise that can push that idea as far as it can go. And I promise you, it could be of interest to your students. I've come from a place where I've actually had a tremendous opportunity to work with folks in the arts, humanities, and sciences, and seen the kind of work where the ideas that are born in your classroom are brought and manifested to society. I've seen theater students work on ways to introduce theater techniques for public safety officials like police, to open up in India, individuals of victims of sexual assault, the ability to help public assistance folks be able to work on accessing and engaging in that community rather than not reporting these things. Lots of ways. I'm just giving you one. I'm sorry, it just came to my mind. There's lots more, but I hope you would consider that. I have a one-page handout that you can take. I'll leave it up front, and also a one-page overview of the document that was sent out to you. With that, thank you for listening. I hope you're getting a sense for who we are in these early days and a sense for the scope and why we're doing what we're doing, and I hope you see it of value, because I know we do. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Gordon. So as a college, we already have people invested in and active in the College of Innovation and Design, and the Department of Art is involved in the GIM program, and we've got Heidi Reeder in the leadership program, the folks who are being hired into the Miles positions and human and natural systems. Those folks, I think, will be good colleagues, good partners in geosciences, biological sciences, social sciences. So there's some ready-made relationships there, and we should look to enhance those as well and build those out. So thank you, Gordon. We appreciate your partnership there. Okay, well, there are no big reveals for you at this address. Rather, what I thought might be useful to do is to sort of take stock of where are we now, how did we get here, a little bit of backward-looking activity, and think a bit about the future, and really think about the near future, right? Because these are important times, and we need to position ourselves to be successful, the successful people we are. So always good to be accountable to oneself, and so I thought we should have a little accountability check, and specifically in connection with the college reorganization. This was something, of course, that sort of dominated my thinking and my activities over the past year, and it'd be nice to have a little scorecard for how that process went for everyone involved. You might recall that in the spring of last year, when the news broke that SSPA was being disbanded, I distributed a couple of documents. One of them outlined a timeline that I thought we ought to observe and the kinds of activities that needed to be done according to that timeline in order to proceed wisely from my point of view, and also some goals and principles that I thought we needed to observe along the way. So in March of 14, we did in fact meet with the 5 SSPA departments to talk about their concerns, their aspirations, and their questions about moving into any new college, whether that's arts and sciences or elsewhere. We did hold at least 2, and I didn't check my calendar, perhaps 3, though one of them would have been smaller, forums for COAS faculty to talk about these changes, ask questions, and express their concerns and ideas. And then, of course, this was an ongoing topic of discussion for chairs in arts and sciences as well. And March, in fact, was full of conversation. In April, promised to collate and review the feedback from those meetings and reach provisional decisions with respect to integrating those departments, and then communicate and verify these provisional decisions with the 5 SSPA departments and faculty and the chairs in arts and sciences. And indeed, in April, I believe it was 22nd, I had put together all of the letters of intent that I'd solicited from those departments and had shared those broadly among all of the department chairs. In May, promised to present those provisional decisions to the Faculty Senate to make sure that they were aware of what was going on and get their endorsement of that, not approval, but their endorsement of the proposal, and then to deliver those provisional decisions to the provost as a formal proposal to define those organizational homes for the 5 departments and the programs. And actually, I was a little early with that. I got that into the provost at the end of April because we met with Faculty Senate a little early, and things went quite smoothly, smoother than I had anticipated, actually. So that was all quite good. In the summer, the State Board did, in fact, approve the dissolution and restructuring of the colleges and the creation of the School of Public Service. And my office did engage in some pretty heavy research into what possible organizational structures we could adopt within the college and what we should look like internally in terms of structure and organization. We worked up some straw man examples to discuss with all of the chairs, and we presented those to the chairs, and we actually endorsed a choice prior to October 1st at a very large meeting where we had all of the department chairs and program directors present, and I think all of the stakeholders were represented. And I believe I've mentioned this at a prior meeting, but the nearly unanimous decision was that there should be no internal structure. There should be no formal internal divisions within the college, that we should be a single unified college, and that we should design business processes to be sensitive to the disciplinary-based differences that exist in our programs and our departments, and tune our processes to respect and reflect those differences, not to create formal divisions that would ossify and potentially divide us as a college over time. We wanted to avoid that, wanted to remain unified. Frankly, I was kind of surprised that was the outcome. I was imagining that we would be a bicameral or tricameral kind of college, but it didn't go that way, and I'm actually quite delighted that we are a single, undifferentiated college in terms of our internal structure. But that does require that we think very carefully about certain kinds of processes and how we route different kinds of processes, whether it's tenure and promotion, whether it's curriculum review. These are important things, and they need to be dealt with appropriately, obviously, and we're working on those things as I speak. So delivered the proposal to the provost at the end of the calendar year, along with some recommendations associated with resources. In the spring, there were budget transfers that were queued up. They weren't actually executed until the beginning of this fiscal year. We had some redefinition of roles. The catalog was revised to reflect the creation of the School of Public Service and the expansion of arts and sciences. So if you look at the catalog now, it, to my eye anyway, looks like it's accurate. There might be some vestigial references to SSPA or parts of SSPA that no longer exist, but we'll suss those out over time. In the summer, we did revise websites. It all went quite smoothly, thanks largely to Dave and Diane. And in the fall, well, here we are. We're a new college. And so pretty pleased with how things went in terms of the timeline. I think we did well there. We get a passing grade. The harder part, I think, was observing these principles and these goals, because it seemed to me these are important. Okay, the cultural issues, right, and respecting those cultural differences that exist between departments, and making sure that everyone feels like they have a seat at the table, making sure that we're transparent. And so the goals that I articulated anyway for the entire process included being inclusive, being clear, being transparent, and building consensus. And from my perspective, did fairly well at that. And if we didn't, then I certainly would like to know about it, at least going forward. How can we do better? But I think we did pretty well there. When it comes to making recommendations and making decisions, we wanted to be timely, we wanted to be true to what we heard, and we wanted to be confident about the decisions that we made. And there, too, I think we did quite well. We were certainly timely in terms of moving through the timeline. We touched all those milestones. I think, were true to what we heard from departments and heard from faculty. And I, at any rate, felt pretty confident that we were moving in the right direction. And my sense was that others felt pretty confident as well. Lots of unanswered questions. There are still lots of unanswered questions, for sure. Lots of details to be sorted out. But I think there's a strong sense of confidence that this is the right thing to do. After the decisions are made and when we began planning, we wanted to make sure that we really focused on student success and faculty flourishing, because that's what universities are about. We wanted to exercise due diligence in all matters and not be sloppy about anything, not take anything for granted. And we wanted to be open-minded about the various kinds of organizational structures that were available. And indeed, I think we were maximally open-minded. I was surprised at the outcome of our conversation and sort of delighted, as I said. And then in the final stages, we want to be very responsible about budgetary matters, make sure that the money follows the students, and we did fairly well there. Of course, I would have liked to have larger coffers. I would always like to have larger coffers for our students and our faculty and our programs, but we did well there. Robust communication with stakeholders. I'm not sure about that. I actually think we could have done a lot better there. But I always feel that way, I think, because, I run into you on the sidewalk or in buildings or labs or studios, and we catch up, and I think, there's a lot going on that I don't know about. And I couldn't possibly know about everything that's going on, because that would cause my head to explode. It would be good. It would explode due to a good cause. But I worry that the other direction of communication might also be impoverished in certain ways. So frankly, I don't know how well we fared on that front. I think communication is key. Certainly can always do better, and I'm aiming to do better now that we're in the new environment. Very important to hold stakeholders harmless, especially junior faculty and department budgets, and this will remain an issue, and I'll say a little bit about that a little bit later on in the presentation. Very important. And then sort of forward-looking goals. We want to have a strong identity for the college, both internally and externally, and I'll show you a couple of objects to that point here in just a moment. We want to have a long-term view of sustainability, strength, and growth for the college, and we're working on that. It's easy to do, actually, with everyone who's here. We want to have a culture of academic excellence. I can actually sort of tell you what I mean by that. And have a high level of leadership support and service from the dean's office. I view my role, certainly I have a leadership role, but it's really a service role as well, right? Because the university doesn't happen in my office. It happens in your classrooms, in the labs, in the studios, and in the field, right? That's where things happen. That's where the university does its work, not in my office, right? I facilitate that. My staff facilitates that. And we want to do a good job. So, all in all, yeah, I think we did all right. Passing grade at least. Maybe not an A, but I never aimed for the A. All right, so to give you a sense of identity building and a little bit of marketing, I pulled this out of the ICER program. This was the Idaho Conference for Undergraduate Research. Liliana Babikostova deserves all the credit for this object. She worked tirelessly to organize the conference itself. She worked on the program. I think she sleeps, but at any rate, this is product of her hand, and so this appeared in the program, and so it was seen very widely by students from across the country, by faculty from around the region, and probably will find its way into other hands. And so this is the kind of thing that people outside of the university are seeing and what they might come to think about the College of Arts and Sciences. Here we have the incomparable Sarah Wren, chemistry student, Goldwater recipient. She's a fantastic spokesperson for Boise State and for the College of Arts and Sciences. Here we have the revised mission statement. I don't remember the precise number, but it was around 150 people participated in the Qualtrics survey that my office sent out last spring, where we had sort of a mock-up new mission statement for the college. And I thought, let's start with something. So my office produced something knowing that it was not the final product and that it would need to be revised with the input of faculty from across the campus, or within the college anyway. And a good number of folks responded. And we got some very long and detailed, and in many cases, very passionate kinds of comments in the feedback. And so that was really, really helpful. So we worked through those comments and had a kind of an iterative process where we finally landed on this, and this is sort of the officially sanctioned, at least for now, mission statement for the college. Arts and Sciences enhances the scientific, ethical, and cultural foundation of society through education, research, creative activity, and community engagement, thereby improving our individual and collective quality of life. I think it's really important to point that out, right? It's not just about conferring a degree, conferring skills, conferring knowledge, advancing people in their careers. It's about improving quality of life for our students, for sure, but also for our collective community, whether that's the Boise community or the national community or the international community. Because when we send someone out who is educated and who has the right kinds of values and is willing to engage, willing to put themselves on the line and to make progress, that improves the quality of life for everyone. The faculty in COAS and the staff and the students discover and share knowledge, they understand and appreciate diversity, they create and analyze art, and they engage and enrich our local and global communities. So there you have it. I hope you like it. There was a lot of input on it, and so I think that it probably should ring true for many of the folks in the room. And then we have some additional language meant to inform folks who don't really understand. So what is the College of Arts and Sciences at Boise State? It's the academic heart of the university. As I've said before, and as I will continue to say, Arts and Sciences puts the university in Boise State University, right? As the academic heart, the college has its 16 departments provide foundational coursework to every undergraduate student on campus and jointly offer 45 baccalaureate degrees. That's true, I counted them myself. 25 master's degrees and 5 terminal degrees, including 2 MFAs and 3 PhDs. So that gives people a sense of the range of degrees that we offer and their sheer number, which is quite impressive, I think. Our world-class faculty work side by side with students in the classroom, field, laboratory, and studio, providing the highest quality academic experience for all students in order to guarantee our graduates the most potent blend of technical proficiency and acuity of mind. I almost heard the president say something, almost that very phrase this morning, right? That we need to have students who have, right, the habits of mind, They're lifelong learners. They are good problem solvers. They can work with others. They have good communication skills. All of the things that we do that sort of constitutes our disciplines here. They're discoverers. They're inquirers, right? They also have technical proficiency, right? And that's something that I think Gordon and the College of Innovation and Design are keenly interested in exploring and providing additional kinds of support for us to integrate more technical proficiency into our programs, either as sort of optional add-ons or other ways. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. So that's just one example. Another example is this document. We've got to give credit for this to Martha Mendoza. This was one of the first products of her efforts in her new role. And I'm torn. On the one hand, I'm delighted that the university, once marketing and communication saw this, said, that's awesome. We're going to proliferate this thing across campus, and everyone's going to have one that looks a lot like this. I thought, that's appropriate because, you know, this is a fantastic document, both in terms of its design. It's very appealing, as you'll see. We'll kind of work through some of its parts. It's also very informative. I was, however, not particularly pleased by the fact that proliferating it in the way that they plan to, and in fact the way that I think they've begun to, kind of diminishes its value for us, right? I mean, we worked very hard on this, and now it will not distinguish us. There won't be anything distinctive about it. So that's just a little confessional. I feel better now. Here's who we are. We're 16 academic departments: anthropology, art, biology, chemistry, communication, English, geosciences, history, math, music, philosophy, physics, psychology, sociology, theater arts, and world languages, and 6 academic programs that don't live in any particular department, ranging from the gender studies minor, not a baccalaureate degree program as such, but a minor, all the way to the biomolecular sciences PhD. Okay? We also have a half a dozen plus minus, depending on how you're counting, research centers. We didn't incorporate that information into this handout, but this is really intended for new students and for their parents. So it's aimed at primarily at undergraduates who are coming to campus to learn about Boise State, to learn about programs. There's that revised mission statement that we just looked at, and here are just some infographics. So in fall 2014, our 16 departments and various programs had a total headcount of 5,589 students. This does not count minors. If you include minors in there, we're up in the 7,000s, right? Our students come primarily from Idaho, but about a third of them come from out of state. Most of those are from other states, but we have 11 countries represented. You can tell that we're made up mostly of seniors at the undergraduate level, and that's true pretty nearly for every program, as it turns out, and that's an interesting kind of feature of our current student demographics. Last year, our 16 departments and various programs graduated just over 1,000 bachelor's degree recipients. That's fully a third of the 3,000 and some that the president mentioned this morning, and that's something that I think we can feel very good about, indeed. 99 graduate degrees in the fall of 2014. We have some very, very large programs. We have 3 of them hovering right around 800 majors: psychology, communication, and biology. And then we've got a cluster there in the middle around, between 350 and 550 with English, art, and sociology. And then you get this kind of spread in the tail of the curve across the other programs. And from my point of view, just so that you know, so you don't think I'm crazy, I think that some of these programs are oversubscribed. We have more students in these programs than there are human resources and other resources to serve them well. We have some other programs that are undersubscribed, where we have, excellent expertise, good resources, and not enough students to really extract them a maximum amount of value from those resources. And so one of the questions that I'm kicking around is, well, is it plausible to think that for a given department and its programs, when you sort of consider everything in terms of the ground level resources and the workloads and everything that sort of fits into that picture, is it plausible to think that you could come up with some ideal number of majors per faculty member, an average, say? And I don't think that's a crazy thought. I think it would be hard to do, but I think something like that should be done. I don't know how to go about that, because there are a lot of ground level facts that would highly influence how you sort of scale that. I mean, let me be clear. I'm not so naive as to suppose I could come up with some aggregate number. Well, we've got this many FTE, probably each one of them could carry 25 majors, and so it's just a simple arithmetic problem. No. I know that what goes on in departments and programs differs really dramatically. It can for arbitrarily chosen departments. But I think that's the sort of thing we need to think about, right? What's the ideal kind of throughput here in terms of undergraduate students in a program? It's going to scale, of course, depending on what the service offerings are to other programs, and so this would be very complex, but I think it's worth thinking about, and we're thinking about it at the department level as well. Over here we have some laurels. 5 of the 11 Carnegie Professor of the Year awards have gone to faculty who are in our college now. In terms of Fulbright, we always have at least half of the faculty who win Fulbright awards. This most recent year we had 2 of 3. A student who received a teaching award. This is all great. Half of the distinguished professors are in arts and sciences. That's fantastic and appropriate. Some numbers of faculty. Last fall anyway, 650 total at Boise State, 311 in the college, so right around half. I'll have some other numbers to show you here in a moment. If you take that 311 and divide it into the 5,582, whatever it is, you come up with an average of 18 students to 1 for a student-to-faculty ratio, thinking in terms of majors. That's in the aggregate, of course. It's much higher in some departments, lower in others. Got the average funding level here between FY10 and 14 at $42 million. Those are active grants. And guess what? We occupy about half of the buildings on campus. Probably more if you actually really kind of nose around a bit. So again, developing some identity, a little bit of marketing there, and when we're putting this in the hands of students and parents because we think it's important that they know who we are, and it's important that we know who we are. So let's talk a little bit about that. If we think in terms of employees, full-time equivalent employees, and here I'm including faculty and staff, whether that's professional, classified, or whatever flavor you like to consider, the total number at Boise State, according to this year's budget book, the FY16 budget book, is 1,561. That includes the president. It includes you, if you're full-time, right? All of academic affairs has 730. Again, faculty, staff, kind of everyone. Doesn't include adjuncts because, tell you what, we do not do a good job of tracking adjuncts. Sometimes they're hired at the very last minute. There's a lot of shifting there. We don't have good record keeping. It's pretty atrocious, I think, and it's not good. I don't like that. The second largest unit on campus is facilities operations and maintenance. They have 173 FTE. You can see where I'm going here, maybe. The second largest college is College of Health Sciences with 100 FTE. Engineering is right behind with 99. I would have thought Amy had enough competitive spirit to go out and hire 2 people, right? I'm going to razz her about that because that's weak. That's really weak. Any guesses? It's more than 311, right? Because that's the number of faculty. It's 370. So we're half of academic affairs. We're a quarter of the university. Let me repeat that. We are a quarter of the university. That's a sobering fact for me. It makes me want to not be sober sometimes, but it's a sobering fact. It's an inspiring fact, too. And think about it. We're the biggest unit on campus by a long shot. Size matters. It matters in faculty senate, for example, right? We'll have 9 representatives on faculty senate. We should take that very seriously. We really should. The other colleges have a total of 10. We don't quite have a majority. We're pretty darn close. And there are sensible people on the faculty senate. We're in a position where we could drive policy in a good sense, in the right way. And we should. And we should staff faculty senate with faculty members who view that as an opportunity to do good work for the university and for the college, for your colleagues and for your students, but also as good professional development, because it really can be, right? So, I'll be harassing you for senators here pretty soon, but think about that, right? Our intellectual and creative resources are totally unparalleled. Totally. There isn't a single unit on campus that can hold a candle to the intellectual and creative power that we have in the college. You can't bolt together 2 colleges or even 3 other colleges and come close, as near as I can tell, just because of the diversity of our methods, of our products, right? That's powerful stuff, right? And because of that, I mean, it just follows, I think, immediately and kind of unproblematically that you have the greatest ability to determine the character and the quality of the institution, which is a big responsibility, but it's a huge opportunity, right? I mean, we can't make policy unilaterally, and we wouldn't want to. We can't determine the direction of the university. That's the president's job. But we can influence that, right? If we do the right things and we show that, then we can absolutely do that. And we should. It would be negligent not to, I think. Right? So, to sort of sum it all up, as the college goes, so goes Boise State. Every undergraduate student who comes onto campus, we're seeing them. We don't see every graduate student. We see a lot of them. We have the best ones. Right? So this is important stuff, and we need to think about this. We need to think about how our responsibility to undergraduate programming generally, and to the institution, and to the mission of the institution with respect to undergraduate education, how that articulates with our goals and aspirations within our own programs. Because they're different. But they can and should align, and indeed there's a very tight alignment that we should talk about. Right? I'm going to look to probably a very non-standard place for inspiration here, a workload policy, right? Whoever looked to a workload policy for inspiration? Well, I don't know that this will inspire you, but it'll give you some contextual information and a bit of a backdrop. This is the college-level policy, and I'm showing it as much as anything to remind our new colleagues in those 5 departments that it exists. I've looked at your department policies. They're consistent with ours, so you're good. You don't have to revise them. But you should understand what the ecosystem looks like in terms of workload. And we wrote the workload policy with a preamble that I think is very important, and I promised earlier that I can tell you what I mean by academic excellence. What do I mean? Well, for students, it consists in mastery of disciplinary material and methods, personal development, and timely receipt of degree. Probably some other things too, but those are the big hits, right? It's achieved in part, I mean, they have to contribute too, right? But it's achieved in part through effective instruction, advising, and mentoring by dedicated and well-prepared disciplinary practitioners. That's us, right? Academic excellence for faculty consists in fostering academic excellence for students, sustenance of a productive, high-quality research agenda, and meaningful contribution to the university's operation and community interests through service, the 3 standard things, right? It's achieved through professional preparation, time on task, and collaborative support from individuals in the institution. I thought it was very important to include that last part, right? We're not independent contractors, not by a long shot, right? We work in partnerships all the time. And since both aspects of academic excellence, right, for students and for faculty, and they overlap, of course, are determined in large part by the day-to-day activities of our faculty, the conditions that structure these activities play a significant role in the pursuit and preservation of our core value, i.e. academic excellence, right? Therefore, it's incumbent upon the administration and faculty of College of Arts and Sciences to articulate and endorse principles governing the assignment of workload relating to teaching, research, and service activities. That's why this policy exists, right? Now, when it comes to workload, and I think to other things as well, it can be difficult to determine where exactly do we sort of pinpoint the locus of authority, right? I mean, command and control is pretty simple. Everybody understands it, right? But from my perspective, it's not terribly effective, both because very often the command, when it comes down, is not embraced. It's not understood. It's not understood what the motivation for it is. What are the goals? Why should we do this? It conflicts with my antecedent commitments, right? But it also can cause apathy. Oh, well, we'll just wait and be told what to do, which is inimical to the academy, right? Faculty aren't passive, actors. You're creative. You're the source of that activity and that value, right? So command and control, I don't think works particularly well. We should try to avoid it as much as we can, right? When it comes to workload, this policy, at any rate, operates according to a principle that we call local optimality. And what we mean by that is that, well, look, you just think about workload, right? There are going to be conflicting interests here, at least at times, because while academic excellence for faculty and student, they do overlap. I mean, there's that explicit connection between the two, but they're not identical, right? And in particular, certain kinds of service and research will require time and effort on the part of faculty that don't contribute directly and immediately and obviously to the academic excellence of students, right? And when that occurs, you need to have a thoughtful way of thinking about, well, how do we set workload here, right? The principle that we endorsed when we approved this policy and drew it up was local optimality, which means that the distribution of assigned duties to a set of departmental faculty ought to be such that it promotes Pareto optimality for the faculty and students involved within the constraints imposed by local conditions. What does that mean? It means that you can't make anyone better without thereby making someone worse. That's what Pareto optimality is. And how you achieve that is, well, that's tricky. I'm being harassed by a fly. The thought is, look, department chairs and program directors plausibly know best what's going on. And they know best how to allocate those resources so that students are well served and the faculty are well served, right? And if Pareto optimality is achieved, then, well, yeah, we could serve the students better, but that would harm the faculty. The faculty could take more time for research, but that would harm the students. So where is that point where we reached optimality such that everybody is as good as they can be without anybody else being harmed, right? It's going to be hard to find a mathematical formula. I mean, they exist, but it's going to be hard to find one that you can actually apply when it comes to workload. But the idea is that with respect to setting workload, that needs to happen at the department level, okay? And again, the idea is we're a very diverse college. And conditions can change fairly quickly, and even within departments and programs, conditions can be fairly different from faculty member to faculty member, and there needs to be a lot of flexibility to achieve our goals. So I don't know how inspiring that is, but it does set a little bit of context here. Academic excellence is the goal. It's achieved in part through thinking about how we can make students and faculty maximally successful. Right? Another odd place to look here, budget stuff. Budget is rarely fun. It wasn't any fun for FY16 because we suffered some permanent cuts. Okay? And the permanent cuts were related to enrollment drops. Okay? As you know, our enrollments were increasing over the aughts. Year after year, we were seeing 2, 3, 4% increases in the undergraduate enrollment, and that was problematic because we weren't well prepared to serve the students as well as they needed to be served. We were understaffed, or we didn't have adequate space, or adequate instructional resources, whatever it might be. So when the influx started to slow, a lot of us said, whew, okay, good, we can catch our breath and we can make sure that there's course availability and advising for these students. But the curve has tipped a little bit, and we've lost students over the past couple of years. In one respect, it shouldn't be surprising because we had the goal of increasing our graduation rate and hastening, in a sensible way, students' receipt of degree. Okay? Break down the roadblocks that are keeping students from graduating. We don't want students graduating with 170 credits. Probably something has gone wrong if that's the case. Not necessarily, but probably. And the average credit load of students at graduation was in the 150s, right? Too high. So we did some very purposeful things to bring that down, better advising, right? Some curriculum redesign, just telling students, look, we're not going to tell you what you have to do. Probably you ought to think about what will get you to your goal in an efficient way that isn't impoverished, right? Do some exploration, enrich your experience, but don't just drag it out for no particular reason. And it looks for all the world like some folks are doing that, right? So we had a spike in graduation. That's all good. We're doing a great job in graduating students, but that's depleting our student enrollment. We have lower numbers, and so there are fewer students who are paying tuition and fees. And so our general fund is shrinking, and so we have to make cuts. And that's not good, right? So for FY16, non-academic units on average made a 3% permanent cut. And 3% in the grand scheme is not devastating. I mean, I go to national conferences and I hear colleagues talking about taking double-digit cuts multiple years in a row, which is, absolutely debilitating. It's crippling, right? So 3% one year is, in the grand scheme of things, not as bad as there is, right? But it's significant. I mean, that's real, especially when over 90% of your budget is in salaries. That's going to have impact on people, and that's bad, right? The average for all the academic colleges was 1.5%. So Stacy and Marty and Bob said, look, academic affairs that's the heart of the university. That's where our work gets done. That's where the students live. And that's the economic engine for the university. If we cut academic affairs at the same proportion that we're cutting the rest of the university, right, the auxiliaries and all the other entities, then we're setting ourselves into a death spiral because we will be reducing the power of the economic engine of the university, and so what we would expect, or should expect, is just shrinking enrollments and cutting faculty, shrinking enrollments, cutting programs, shrinking enrollments. That's bad, right? So they saw the wisdom of 1.5%. We fared better. We took the smallest cut of any college. It was right around 1%, more than I'd like, don't get me wrong. I don't ever want to give money away, but within context, that's pretty good. And you might, well, why? Why were we treated with kid gloves in this situation? Well, one thought is just sort of a version of what I just said. Look, academic affairs is the economic engine of the university. It would be foolish to throttle that down. Let's keep it revving as high as we can so we can drive the finances of the university. Well, I mean, you saw it. We're half of academic affairs, roughly. And so there, too, that same kind of reasoning might apply. But there's actually something more than that, because Stacy agreed to the 1.5% for colleges on condition that she had some reason to suppose that academic affairs was going to rev it up somehow, right? To address declining enrollments in some fashion or other. And so she said, look, you're going to give me a promissory note, and I'm going to give you a smaller cut. But you have to make good on that promissory note. And I'll tell you what, we as a college made really good on that, if that's bad English. We did really well on delivering on that promissory note. Instead of the traditional budgeting exercise, budgeting and planning exercise, which typically happens every spring, I said, we need to think about recruitment and retention, okay? Because we get all the students coming through our programs. At least some of our programs see pretty nearly every student that comes onto campus, the undergraduates, and we have very large programs. So if we can think about what are we doing to retain the students who come to us? What are we doing to recruit new students, both from off campus, that is new students to the university, but also students to our programs? I mean, this is not purely altruistic, mind you. I do recognize that the health of arts and sciences contributes directly to the health of the institution, and so those two are linked. I want the institution to be strong. If the institution is weak, we can't be strong. But I also am thinking a little bit self-serving here, right? We want our programs to do well. We certainly don't want the university to do well at the expense of our programs. That would be untenable, right? So it's a win-win is the goal. So I charged the 16 department chairs with producing recruitment and retention plans in lieu of the traditional planning and budget exercise, which is really frustrating, by the way. What we produced was a 100-page narrative, 33 Excel worksheets, and the narratives were organized around cost cutting. I said, look, you got to put something on the table because we're going to get cut, and we had better give some idea. Here's what we think it should be. It should not be that, or that, or that, or that, or that, but I'm willing to put this on the table. So every chair did that. I wanted to talk about recruitment. I've already told you some programs are oversubscribed. They should not be recruiting students at the moment, right? They need to think about recruitment. They need to think about onboarding of students and how students come to their program, but they don't need to be spinning up recruitment programs as such. Other programs do, it seems to me. We need to think about this. Some of our programs, and music is the one that comes immediately to mind, have been doing this kind of forever, and they're really good at it. They'd be better if they had more scholarships. That's a different story, right? And then, most importantly, think about retention, because the number of students who leave the university between their first and second year and second and third year is significant. If we could retain even a fairly modest proportion of those students, our budget problems would essentially vanish, right? And I'm not equating students to dollars. If we do right by the students and we help them to be successful, we will also be successful financially, which is, let's admit it, that's a necessary evil, right? We have to deal with dollars and cents. So retention, I encourage chairs to think in terms of the pipeline. That's what I just described, right? I mean, we have really good data from institutional research called FATE data on what happens to students who are in a particular major after the first year. What number of them leave the program and go somewhere else? What number of them leave the university altogether? We have these data, and they're reliable, so we know what those numbers are. Look at those numbers. Think about it. What could you be doing in your department or in your program to connect with these students and to try to prevent them from fleeing? You can't prevent all of them from fleeing, obviously. Many of them leave for reasons that are really good reasons. Family reasons, work reasons, they can't afford it, they've changed their mind, they have to move, whatever it might be. But even a very small delta there can make a big difference. So we need to think about that. Pain points. We have some classes or clusters of classes that are sort of notorious washout classes, right? Where the DFW rate is probably by almost anyone's standards way too high. What's going on there, right? Is it acceptable for us to say, well, that's just how it is, and you know what? The national average is right about that too, so we must be doing okay. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think we need to take a long, hard look at it and say, why is it that we have a 47% failure rate in this particular class, irrespective of who the instructor is? There's something going on there. Or in some cases, why does this instructor have a 58% failure rate? Right? We shouldn't accept that. Okay? I don't want to pick on anyone. I'm not picking on anyone. I don't know any names that are associated with this, so I don't have anyone in mind. But we need to think about this, right? Because we lose students. We lose our own students, and we lose students from other programs there too. The question is, have we done right by them? And I think in at least some cases the answer is clearly not. Pedagogy, right? What is the climate in a department around teaching and learning? What are the conversations that happen? What is the kind of permeability between classes? What is the felt level of comfort among faculty in raising a question about teaching practices? Or even attending a class and saying, hey, can I just sit in and see what it is that you do? I don't know. It's kind of private, really. I'd rather you didn't, because I know you'll judge. And you'll judge me badly, right? I mean, I'll be honest, that's kind of a natural reflex response that I have as an instructor, right? But we should be having conversations. They should be safe conversations. Maybe they should be conversations around curriculum and student support, and maybe about some methods, and maybe it can be totally depersonalized. maybe there are ways that we can get into each other's classes in a non-threatening way and say, I'm not coming to judge. I'm not in a position to judge. But I think we should be talking about this, right? We should think about what kinds of practices and methods are available to us to be better than we are, right? Because we don't have to be anyone different. I mean, that's key. We don't have to be anyone different to really, really be successful, both for ourselves and for the university. Because if we're successful, the university is going to be successful. We just have to be our best selves. And that sounds good. I like the sound of that. I would like for us to be our best selves. And then, in addition to that, any sort of ideas you have about enhancements or possibly expansion. Now, of course, this is pretty dicey in a contractionary period. It's not like there's going to be new money flowing in, buckets to create a new program or to fund new faculty lines. But if you have ideas for internal reallocation, or if you have ideas about, look, here's one way that we can expand the services that we're providing to students by adjusting the job description of, a staff member in our office, or whatever it might be. Go ahead and do that if you want. Not required. In fact, I also didn't require recruitment for the reason I mentioned, but I did insist on talking about retention. Okay. So again, I know that some of you in this room had a hand in that, because in many cases it was clear to me this is a collaborative effort at the department level. In other cases, it was fairly clear that the chair is shouldering this and is communicating with the faculty and is thinking about it, is relying on common knowledge, is relying on tradition, is relying on shared assumptions and shared visions about where the department needs to go, right? But it isn't like it's a group effort, and that's okay, right? But I think as faculty members, we need to be aware of what these plans are, because they're real plans. And the goals are modest, I'll tell you. I mean, the retention goals here outlined in these spreadsheets are, a percentage point or two. They're really modest. They're totally doable. It's like in some cases the difference between 4 students leaving and 3 students leaving. Can I guarantee that I could prevent that one student from leaving? No. Maybe the conditions are totally beyond my control and my influence. Will I prevent any of them from leaving if I don't try? Hell no. So we got to try, right? And here's the thing. If our programs are sort of at that ideal subscription level, and again, I'm assuming that there is some N, such that N is the right number of students for a program given all the ground level facts. I don't know what N is. Maybe no one does. But if we're there, then your program is going to be operating really efficiently. And that means that it's very successful. And that means that the college and the university are being successful. And that means that there will be revenues to do the other things that aren't related immediately to that, like research. Right? Sustaining healthy enrollments is absolutely critical to sustaining our research. And we care about that, as we should. And we care about graduate programs that are, let's be clear, funded in part on undergraduate revenue. We care about those, as we should. Okay? So we really need to kind of start digging into this, and we need to start thinking about it. This isn't the sort of thing that most of us were trained to do. I wasn't trained to do it. I doubt that very many people in here were trained to do these kinds of demographic studies and try to tease apart all of this stuff. And we don't have all the data we need. Some of the data we have is kind of sketchy, right? But until we start doing that, we're not going to make any progress. And we need to make some progress, like fast, it seems to me, because the curve has tipped. And that's not good news. It's not good news for us. I don't want to be alarmist about it, right? But we need to be thoughtful about it. So if we're at that sort of optimal level, optimal subscription level, then we're all kind of cranking away. Everything's healthy. It should feel pretty good, I would think. I would think that as a faculty member who's working in that kind of program, I'd have a fairly high level of satisfaction. Now, on the whole, I might prefer to have fewer students, and fewer papers to grade, and fewer exams to grade, and fewer lab notebooks to look at. Sure. But all things considered, things will be a lot better if we have robust programs, vital programs, right? So have a look at these recruitment and retention plans. As I say, they're sketchy in many ways. It's not like it's a roadmap with, take steps 1 through 13 and then move over to section B, right? There's not certainty involved here, but they're real plans, and they're modest, and they're doable, and they will make a real difference, and we'll get better at this. And pretty soon, hopefully, we won't be having this conversation because we'll be cranking away, right? That's part of my job, and I have some additional ideas beyond what's articulated in the recruitment and retention plans, and I promise I won't be knocking on your door late at night saying, I need to recruit you to help me on this administrative project, and we're going to travel to do it. Not many of you, anyway. Okay, so here's some kind of nuts and bolts things that I think are important enough to discuss. Academic excellence, went through what that is. Obviously, promotion and tenure has a lot to do with that. Not just the process of promotion and tenure, right, but the entire array of activities that feed into that, starting with hiring and making sure that our faculty understand what the process is and that they're queued up to take note of those milestones and collect documents and to undertake the activities that will help them be successful and be tenured colleagues. So what I've promised is, look, we need to hold junior faculty harmless in the transition from SSPA into arts and sciences. And one way to do that is to minimize the difference in the process from their point of view. We don't want surprises. We don't want radical changes. And so what we're going to do this year is sustain our traditional 2 P&T committees at the college level, arts and humanities, math and sciences, and they will continue as they always have, right? And we will not force the new faculty into that structure. There was no such structure in SSPA, right? Instead, we will build a third committee for this year only that is composed of faculty members from those 5 departments, okay? And they'll use the old guidelines. And so it will be minimally different from what the faculty members in question had expected probably for a long time. I mean, they've been building dossiers, I hope, for years and been thinking, okay, well, here are the guidelines, going to do this and this and this, and here's what's going to happen to it. Yeah. We don't want that to happen, right? So I hope and trust that this will work out well and that it will, again, hold those junior faculty harmless. We've got a bigger project on the horizon, and that is refreshing our policies, because we have a new university policy, as you know. It's not dramatically different, at least not in every respect, from the old policy, but it does differ, and we will need to refresh ours. It's also a good opportunity to look at what our policies say and make sure that they say what we want them to say, right? So we will need to do that at the college level and at the department level. And as I was thinking about this, and this is the way I think when I'm thinking about committees, how can I kind of get 2 for 1 here? How can I minimize the administrative burden on whoever's going to be sitting on this committee? It seemed to me that one good way of doing it is calling a college level committee that's composed of what I'm going to call process leads at the department. So in some cases, this might be department chair. And I've already had a couple of department chairs say, yep, I'm going to be leading the discussion in my department when it comes to revising the policies. Say, that's appropriate, don't have a problem with that, but recognize you're signing up for the college committee, because there needs to be a very strong communication link between the college level committee and the department committees, because those policies need to be well aligned with one another, okay? And we can develop them in real time, simultaneously, but that connection has to exist and it has to be strong, okay? Now, my goal is to articulate a fairly minimalistic college policy. There will be some non-negotiables that I will give the committee and say, it has to have this, sorry. There will be some things that I would really like to see, but how they get in there will be up to the committee and how it's phrased and that sort of thing. And then after that, I'll say, and then do your work. Tell me what you think should be in it. And hopefully it will be fairly minimalistic because, right, evaluation occurs within the department. doesn't occur in my office. You guys know the disciplinary standards and expectations far better than I do, except for one department, but even there I think I'm out of touch probably, right? So I think that that will be fairly efficient. What this means is that it's possible within your department chair might approach you and say, hey, are you willing to work on promotion and tenure policy? Be aware that when he or she asks you that, you would be signing up essentially for two posts, right? Now, my expectation would be that that's going to take something else off your plate. This can't be an add-on. In fact, we have a program this year for trying to quantify the effort load, time and effort load for college-level committees. And we'll make use of Zeiker's study and approach to doing that. So we want to be responsible about that, and we think that we should probably do that across all of our assignments so that we can make meaningful workload assignments in terms of service, right? But be aware. I think it'll work well, and I think we'll have a policy that we're proud of. Another kind of nuts and bolts thing, and this is coming up really soon, so I thought it was worth mentioning, and we had some choices to make. We had some decision points that hopefully reflect some of the values that I've been bringing forward today. In the past, as those of you who've been around for a long time know, we've had 3 awards for a long time. This one is relatively new. We've issued an adjunct teaching award twice now. We've had 2 years where we've done that, and we're proud of that because our adjunct colleagues do a lot of teaching, and it's very important what they do, and we should recognize excellence. But we've always had a teaching award for full-time faculty. We've had a research and creative activity award and a service and community outreach. The teaching award was open to all full-time faculty, right? Without respect to your department, your discipline, or anything like that. The research and creative activity alternated year by year. Arts and humanities, math and sciences, arts and humanities. This would be the year of the arts and humanities, okay? And then likewise with service and community outreach, so sort of campus service 1 year, community outreach the next, open to faculty member from any department. Now this particular structure has built into it that vestigial arts and humanities, math and science split that has been in arts and sciences for a long time. And it seemed awkward and inappropriate, to me anyway, to force a decision right out of the gate. Who do you want to be? You want to be on Team A or Team B to the 5 incoming departments? It seems to me we should rethink the Team A, Team B thing, right? So we're not going to do that, and we're not going to do that, and we're not going to do that. Instead, we'll keep the adjunct teaching award. I like that. I want to keep that. But instead, we will have 3 exemplary faculty member awards. Okay? And here you should think in terms of academic excellence. And we're really talking about all 3 areas here. So this is kind of a super-duper award. And we know people, don't we, who really do excel at teaching and who do great research and creative work and who nonetheless step up when the question is asked, who's willing to help out on this committee or with this service project? And it's those people who are great teachers and great researchers and creative folks who say, I'll do it. They're out there. And we should acknowledge that full complement of academic excellence, I think, this year at least. And maybe we'll carry this forward too, right? But for this year at least, we should do that. And if it turns out that among the 3 of them there's special distinction in one area, we can call that out. I'm not saying that it would be inappropriate to acknowledge the super excellence in teaching in this case. But what we'll look for is that well-rounded complement of academic excellence. So this will be open to, again, there are no teams here. It'll be wide open, and we'll be posting the guidelines on the website here very soon. So keep an eye open for that. And please do think about colleagues who maybe weren't willing to be nominated in the past because they say, you know what, I think I do a good job in research, say, but these folks, there are folks who are, way ahead of me. And it might be, well, yeah, but that's partly because you take teaching so seriously and you invest so much time in it, and that's important, and that should be recognized. And you're also willing to do all this service. It's a trifecta. That should be acknowledged, seems to me. Okay, I want to leave you with one final thought, and it's not an afterthought by any stretch, and that is the health and safety of our students. And this is really relevant for our college because there are some departments and programs, like my home department, where health and safety really, how shabby is the building we're in? And don't answer that question, philosophers. It's pretty shabby. We'll fix that. It'll get better. But for many of our departments and programs, students are exposed to hazardous conditions, right? In the laboratory, in the studio, in the field, right? In the shop. And this is very serious, and I know you take it very seriously. But we really, really need to be mindful of that. And we cannot become complacent when it comes to exposing our students to risk. And environmental health and safety and risk management, those folks are all over it. If they come knocking, we need to be cooperative and responsive because they really have our own health and safety at heart and of our students as well. And we have a really strong obligation and duty to protect our students from environmental hazards. Okay? There, of course, is a national discussion right now about sexual assault on university campuses. Okay? And we're not immune to that. And, the numbers we hear, upwards of 1 in 5 college students is the victim of sexual abuse, sexual harassment, sexual battery, rape. Okay? We have an obligation to report this if we hear it. We have an obligation to report this if we hear it. If you have reason to believe that a student has been victimized in this way, you need to contact campus security. And you can do it anonymously. If a student confides in you, you can still, indeed you have an obligation to contact campus security anonymously and pass that on. We're required by law to do that, in fact. The Cleary Act of 1990, that's not its real name. It was named for Jean Cleary, who was raped and murdered on the campus of Lehigh in 1986. We can't have that here. We really can't. And, of course, the care team, this is mostly for newcomers, is a really robust team of folks who receive, referrals from faculty or staff members about students or employees who are causing concern, right? If they're being, if there's disturbing behavior or disruptive behavior, you can go online and you can fill out a report, and they have campus safety, they have counseling, they have the dean of students, they have a representative from the provost's office, they have BPD, mental health experts. They will respond. Okay, so again, the students are in our custody when they're in our classrooms and our studios, and we really need to be good custodians, and we need to care about them, and we have good systems here to help out. So we just need to take advantage of those. So, kind of a sobering last point, but it's important enough that we want to make it. All right, well, that's my Prezi. I'm pretty proud of it. It's not as good as the president's, but I don't have the team he has for making this stuff. I have a great team. I have a better team than he does, but not for making this stuff. So with that, I will wish you all a fantastic semester. Thank you. It is a privilege and an honor and an inspiration to work with you. Thank you.